Hey, hi guys. Hope you are there. This is a beautiful Saturday, and still, if you are logged in for the educational webinar, then it's a good thing. So, let me start. We are today going to talk about blockchain technology and how it can influence e-governance. So when we use the word e-governance, it means all these public services, all the government services that we use or that any citizen uses in a electronic or digital form. So let me take up the first topic that we are going to speak on, that I'm going to brief you on. So the first topic is benefit distribution. Let me give you a definition of benefit distribution. Um as you know, whenever someone achieves anything, he wants to be rewarded. So similarly, government runs different programs where the achievers, you can say a girl student who scores more than 90% in class 10th or high school is rewarded with a laptop, with a bicycle. That's a kind of benefit that governments gives to its citizens. So this benefit distribution, if we think it in current context, it has a lot of issues while giving the correct benefit to the correct citizen. Let's take the example of the girl who has achieved more than 90% in her class 10. If you do it with a normal legacy model, let me bring in a data from that you must have read, seen in newspaper or in media. In UP, there was a laptop distribution scheme. Many of you know where the laptop actually went. So some of the laptop get into some households which were well-to-do, and some laptops were distributed to students who are not even studying. Sorry, to the citizens who are not studying. So such corruption, such opaqueness is in the current system. So this benefit distribution, where a citizen who is needy and who has actually uh, performed and achieved what is expected from him or her, should be given the benefit. So government and Oxledger Foundation, along with the tool Oxledger, which is the base framework which helps to give the benefit to the correct citizen in a more efficient way, in a more precise way, and to the correct person. So that's how Oxledger will be utilized by some of the state government of India to give these benefits to its needy citizen. Let me give you some statistics. So around 28 lakhs, that is 2.8 million students from 10th and 11 has appeared for 10th and 12th exams from CBSE board only. So that's the scale in which in which students in India are. And if you now government tries to deliver some benefits to the student, see the scale. This Out of this, if we consider 10% who should be given the benefit, the scale becomes huge. We haven't considered the different state boards, we haven't considered the other zonal schools and everything. So this whole scale becomes huge, and blockchain as a technology can deliver on this scale efficiently, effectively, securely. One very important point that we have experienced while delivering benefit distribution program or running benefit distribution program for one of the states of India is that there is a very close interaction between different government departments. For example, education department, for example, the finance department, the treasury department of government. So because of the interoperable capabilities of Oxledger, all these departments were able to communicate smoothly, were able to exchange the data efficiently and precisely, so that the benefit gets transferred to the correct person and he is rewarded what the reward should be to him. Okay, let's now move on to the second point, which is subsidy distribution. So let me give you some statistics. Indian government Niti Aayog has already declared a paper in which the subsidy distribution for fertilizers, the figure is 70,000 crore Indian rupees, will be distributed using blockchain. And again, bringing in the banking domain inside it, consider that there is a 0.5% transaction fee for this subsidy distribution. So 0.5% of 70,000 crore rupees is 350 crore rupees. So that's what government spends as banking transaction. That's a very huge figure. Can there be an efficient technology which can help to reduce this cost? Can there be an efficient technology? Can there be a secure and scalable technology which can act on such a scale? So blockchain is again the answer for this, where blockchain can be utilized for subsidy distribution that we are already consuming. Let's again understand the subsidy that we use. So you must be familiar with the LPG subsidy, because all of us who pays the household bills knows about LPG subsidy. Every day, whenever you order a cylinder, the LPG subsidy is credited in your account. Now, there may be millions of LPG connections in India. So government makes these millions of transactions, and with different banks. So there is a huge infrastructure, huge system involved, which cost has to be bared, whose cost government bears, and again every transaction fee that government bears to transfer the subsidy which the citizen needs. So this is again the scale challenge, and again the efficiency challenge. You must have observed that the LPG subsidy doesn't get credited instantaneously to your account. It takes time. Now consider this subsidy. Let's try to relate the importance of this subsidy. Consider the situation where a farmer wants to put seeds into his field so that he can grow the grain, and the subsidy doesn't come to his account at correct point of time. After then it rains, he can't put seeds. So the timing is very much important in subsidy distribution. And you have seen the examples where because of subsidy coming late or subsidy not coming, the farmer suicides and everything are there. Maharashtra in India, Maharashtra state is a very bad example where farmer suicides are very much. So if we have a technology which is fast, which is reliable, and government has a direct connection with the citizen, with the farmer, so this this subsidy that government wants to deliver to the farmer can be delivered in an efficient way. That's again how blockchain can be utilized. Blockchain uniquely identifies a citizen, and blockchain creates the traceability from where the funds are coming, from where the funds are going, and who holds the correct funds. One more very important part here we can see is, consider the example of subsidy distribution in India. Majorly, the fertilizer companies in India are government owned. They are public companies. So these companies give the fertilizers to the farmer against cash, which cash or actual INR payments, which we call fiat payments. If government releases a blockchain-based asset that can be exchanged for these fertilizers, then this whole process can be done with efficiently and with reduced cost. So that's one of the again example where subsidy distribution is again an example where blockchain can be utilized. Now let's move on to the next part, which is identity management. So it's very important whenever we are born, a document is created for us, who we are, to which nation we belong, and subsequent documents, our passport, our educational certificates, or any other documents have a relationship with the base document, our birth certificate that was created in past. We have seen this, that many a times these documents are not reliable. Let's take a latest example in Assam, the state of India, the National Citizens Registry, which is going on. So it's basically we can't prove who is the citizen and who of India and who is not. So because of which many lives are still hanging in between. They are not getting the correct benefits. They are not getting the correct public services. So such examples come up when we don't have a good and efficient system. Can blockchain help us in this? Oxledger Foundation, along with state governments of India, is already working on this. We have created digital identity of the citizens, and this digital identity is directly mapped to the identity that government has created via birth certificate, via alias of Aadhaar card, and this digital identity can be used to get the public services from government. So identity management is a very important part, and let me give you an example. In 2017, Syrian refugees in Jordan were actually given food coupons over Ethereum blockchain. It was a private Ethereum blockchain, but they were given the food coupons which they were able to utilize in the in the United Nations Food Program shops to get the food. So blockchain is already getting into the mainstream, and such examples, the Syria refugee example, is a very good use case, is a very good demonstration how blockchain can be utilized for identity management, where all this for 1,500 Syrian refugees were given blockchain identities, and they were using this blockchain identity to get the food supplies. With this, let me move on to the next section that we have is the next section for e-citizenship and e-voting. So again, let me give you some. Let me take you to Europe, a country which is almost completely digitized. Estonia. Those who has invested in cryptos and those who knows how to run an ICO very well know the name of Estonia. So those who don't know, ICO is initial coin offering, a parallel to IPO, initial public offering, what is in normal financial domain. So Estonia is home to around 1.3 million people. It's a beautiful small country, and they have e-residency program already running on blockchain, where an individual has its identity on blockchain. They can digitally sign some of the documents via their blockchain identity and can consume the public services. So again, to give more fundamentals and more backing to such kind of programs, Mr. Barack Obama, the past US president, when he was visiting Estonia, he did say it that if I would have visited Estonia before launching the healthcare program in US must have learned a lot from Estonia. So because of this blockchain backbone, they were able to give e-residency permits. They were able to give also provide the e-voting services, where a person can vote online using his ID card, which is a digital ID card, and can participate in the government formation. Let's take an example of India, where voting is a very crucial and again very critical part of the whole democracy. So what happens is, before closing this, let me give you actual solution how blockchain can help for e-voting. So a voting machine, where right now in India we have digital voting machines. So this digital voting machines, if they are a blockchain node, they record each and every transaction immutably, securely. They can act as a tamper-proof record through which we can verify who has voted for whom without even getting the name and details of the voter. So anonymity, which is a quality of blockchain, such things can help and can bring more transparency in the e-voting part. More to it is, already some countries in the world are trying to implement e-voting using blockchain, and these countries will be successful because the use cases, the implementations which are already done by Estonia and other countries are making a way forward for it. So should we open for questions? I think I'm open for questions. We can start the questions if there are any. Okay, I can't. Okay, just. Okay, I can see a question. Let me. Okay, that's a comment from Mamta. The country is still new to this technology and government needs to tie the knots. Yeah, I agree with you. So the technology is really new and the government, as I said, told you Niti Aayog has already come up with a paper in which, sorry, not come up with a paper, they have proposed that the subsidy distribution of the figure of 70,000 crores will be over blockchain. So we are embracing this technology. The technology is new, even countries learning, people are learning, and we are embracing the technology. So there's another question for Martin. So let me read out the question for the audience. So I wanted to ask you, since blockchain decentralizes decision process, do you feel this could be bad for governments implementing the decision process? Okay, so very important question. And though blockchain decentralizes decision process is, I will not agree with you, Martin. Reason being that this statement is altogether not correct. Why? Blockchain decentralizes the data with data in it, and if you want, it can decentralize the consensus. So consensus is another part in blockchain that you can call as decision process. So blockchain gives you the capability where you can decentralize the consensus if you want, and you can decentralize the data. Majorly the government application that you will see, there will be some admin nodes who will take the consensus, and there will be some receiver nodes, or we can call general nodes. They will just consume the data. So majorly implementations will be that the decision process will remain within some government departments. Again, let's go back to the benefit distributions for the girl who scored more than 90%. So for this, the decision is made by government's educational department, which who is the girl who should get rewarded. They will check her marks and everything, and then they will decide, yes, this girl should be get the laptop, this girl should get the laptop, and the laptop will be distributed to that girl. So here you can see one node is taking the decision, other nodes, which are the education department, the treasury department, providing the consensus, three other nodes. And apart from that, the node of the citizens, the node for the vendors, is just listening to this information. The quality that we are using of blockchain here is transparency and auditability. Hope, Martin, this helps you to understand the decentralized process and decentralized decision making mechanism. Okay, so there is another question from Akash. Why the measures to implement blockchain is not yet started in India? What might be the reasons? Okay, so interesting question, Akash. And I think what you want to ask is why there is no practical implementation yet in India. The reason for this is, as as it was from last Mamta. From Mamta, it was already mentioned that still the technology is new. Yes, the technology is new, and government is still running some prototypes. Government is still has built some think tanks, has built some working committee groups to examine this technology. Once this technology is examined, then it will be deployed on mass scale. As we have just seen, in India, the scale is huge. Just CBSE board, 2.8 million students sat for the exam. So at such a scale, if you deploy a system, the first challenge is it's going to fail because of the scale. So first of all, the proving at a scalability point of view will be done by government or by any other institute, then it will be deployed. Okay, let's move on to the next question. Okay, so Ross is asking, apart from financial transactions, can blockchain technology be programmed to record? Okay, Ross, I haven't got your question well, but yeah, okay. So I think the question that you are trying to ask is, can blockchain be utilized in other technology, other domains apart from financial domain? The answer is yes. As now we have seen voting, we have seen and we tried to demonstrate conceptually how a voting can be done over blockchain. So that's another use case for blockchain. So let's go back to a question from Wayne. So Wayne is asking, blockchain technology fully compensate for the inefficiencies in the current governance system. Okay, so Wayne, very interesting question. No technology, neither blockchain nor AI nor ML, can compensate for the efficiencies in the current governance system. So because governance system is built with one pillar of technology, another pillar of administration, and another pillar of execution, as well as citizens who contribute for that governance. So if you build one pillar strong, which is technology, obviously the other pillar will become slowly and mutually, they will try to cope up with that strong pillar, and the whole governance platform, whole governance system can be strengthened. So only this blockchain cannot make governance efficient, but if we deploy it with correct administrative measures, you will see manifold returns and very good achievements that governance systems can take. Sorry. Okay, let's move on to next question. So it's Vivek, and Vivek is asking how blockchain will benefit the international logistic field. Okay, interesting question. Going away from the e-governance, still we should discuss it, because when we say logistic, is supply chain related thing, and supply chain related thing. Again, let's bring the subsidy topic in between, because LPG distribution, as I told you, whenever the cylinder is delivered at the same day, you don't get the amount credited in your account. So delivering the LPG cylinder or delivering the physical asset to you is a supply chain logistic thing, and getting the financial benefit within your account is a financial domain part. So sorry, international logistics, rather than international logistics, in domestic logistics, blockchain can bring transparency. Whenever the goods are moved, for pay the person, and as well as in international logistics, let me again bring on some facts. So HSBC Bank is already working on a use case where the whole supply chain, they are trying to bring it on blockchain. So it's a part of international logistics. So yes, blockchain is helping in international logistics. So let's move on to another question. It's a big one. So Mr. Santa is asking this question. Santu is asking this question. I completely agree that the anonymity helps in voting system. I am from a land registry background. As you said, the quality of blockchain industry is anonymity. Can you explain how this helps the land registry system of a country, especially India, wherein the land records have a lot of flaws? Okay. Nice question. And creating a parallel between the voting system and the land registry system. So land registry system, if take the example, I'm going to buy a property in Mumbai, or I'm going to buy a property in Delhi, NCR region. So first thing, if and we have portals where people do sell properties. So on that portal, if I can verify the apartment is standing on a legal land, because sorry guys, because in Mumbai we have seen that many apartments or many buildings are built on illegal lands, or the land doesn't belong to the builder, or the land has dispute. So in this case, if on these portals we have a blockchain verification mechanism where, without even revealing your identity, or without even revealing the identity of the person who owns the land, you can verify, yes, the land is genuinely owned by that person. Then such anonymity quality helps you to boost your decision. Okay, so let me take up the next question. Which is Moksha is asking, blockchain offers tremendous savings in transaction cost and time, but the high initial capital cost could be an issue. Okay. So Moksha, to be honest you, because I'm coming from a enterprise background, to be honest with you, the initial cost that you spend in creating any infrastructure, any IT infrastructure, take Aadhaar, take land registry system or anything, is huge every time. What blockchain offers is, blockchain has the capability to run on very simple processing units. So the exact specification for any machine that runs a blockchain node, you ask any blockchain developer, the specifications are very low. So that's why blockchain doesn't have that much initial cost which we think it will be having. So the initial cost is not that much, and once you implement it, you get extraordinary benefits which actually compensates the initial cost that we put into this system. Guys, let me have a drink. Okay. Okay, so Rahul has a question, and the question is: blockchain will automate the systems, resulting in increase of unemployment rates. How does the government try to overcome this issue? Okay, so Rahul seems to be concerned with the unemployment ratio that India has. Okay, Rahul, good thing that you are aware of the unemployment ratio. Okay, so blockchain will create more jobs than it takes. The only reason being that the developers in blockchain domain are not there. You must have seen the Kerala government news in which they said we will train 25,000 software developers. So you can be one of the software developers who get trained in blockchain. And once you bring in the blockchain, the leakage of money which goes in different funds and system can be stopped, and that money can be utilized to create more sectors, more jobs. So blockchain will not actually kill the jobs. It will help to create the jobs. Guys, I think we are almost done with all the questions and everything. Once again, thanks to you, because on this beautiful Saturday evening, you're still here and listening for an educational webinar. Okay, thanks. I will close this now. Thank you.